Billions of puppets with poisoned minds, permanently fixed on one unifying goal: to spread the infection to every last human alive by any means necessary. And there are no treatments for this, no preventatives, no cures. They don't exist. It's not even possible to make them.
So if that happens,
we lose.
All right, here we go. Here's the second part of episode 1. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're having a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun with this, and I hope you guys are getting some good info and, also contributing to the community. We're trying to build something here a little bit special up on Twitter, Patreon. Thank you, guys. We already got our first Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169. Thank you so much. Really means a lot. And, this is going to be fun. We're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive, break down a little bit more of the relationships. We're going to talk about some scenes a little bit more in depth and just to kind of go from there. Max, I'm going to follow your lead because I think you just are you're the right man for this job.
So what you thought about, rewatching some of the first episode?
I liked it a lot. Obviously, I caught more things the second time around. There were some things that I after watching the second time, I wasn't as hyped as I was the first time. But then there's other things, obviously, I caught the second time around that made other scenes, stick out a little bit more, which was good. Yeah. Caught some of our corrections, some of the things that we said in the first post or the first episode that we were wrong. We actually had somebody message, or we had a Patreon email us to send us a screenshot of the piece of paper in Joel's.
They did the work for us.
The piece of paper that Joel had about the codes
music
for
codes.
60s, 70s, and 80s music. I was wrong, which is fine. That happens from time to time. Just don't tell many people. So I thought the code said, at least the 60s thing, when a 60s song played, it was everything. Everything's okay, but that's not what the code said. The code said, and this is from Bionic Piano Man, the code in the book, it says 60s is nothing's in, 70s new stock, and then 80s is an X. Yeah. So obviously Joel's a smuggler. He needs to know if his stuff is in. So, that kind of corrects that.
And they had Ellie kind of in the episode say, who's Bill and Frank? How she guessed. I think they only had a B and an F in there, right? And she guessed it right away.
I don't know is their names actually Bill and Frank?
Yeah.
Is it really? All right. Well, let's. It's
going to be interesting. Those are going to be characters we're going to see. Okay. Moving forward in the smuggling world that they work with. So that's going to be awesome. Okay. See those two characters from the game and how they portray them here. But it was really good. Communicating with a lot of people online. Right. They brought up a lot of cool things that they saw that they shared with us. Posters on the wall, tidbits, little things from the video games that they carried over. Yeah. And we definitely wanted to go through some of that here as well.
Well, let's hit up the Easter eggs really quick.
Yeah.
And let's do that. So the DVD that Joel and Sarah watch is called Curtis and the Viper 2. That's a reference to the video game. They do that's Joel's favorite franchise in the video game. This is a hard one to see that I found on GameRant.com. If you look closely when Sarah wakes up in the beginning of the show, you can see on her desk, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the card that she makes for Joel.
Oh, nice.
And that'll play down the line, that'll play some importance, but it's hard to see, but it's there. Let's see. What are the other fun things that parallel the video game? What do you got?
Well, that whole gift-giving scene, is directly... Even most of the dialogue is directly pulled from the game. It mimics it almost exactly. Sarah's wardrobe, that shirt she's wearing.
Right.
Who was it? The band called
Helicon Drops?
Yes. And it's the exact same shirt from the game. And on the back of the shirt, the tour cities is exactly the cities that they're
going to go on their adventure.
Ellie and Joel are going to go on in the show. There were a lot of scenes like the truck scene, where they're escaping and they're trying to leave, quote unquote. That is almost identical to the game.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that.
Yeah,
I
we mentioned that.
Yeah.
You know, the house burning, the hospitals this way, Austin that way.
Right.
All of that is pretty spot on. They do a little tweak to that, like in the video game. That when they're in the city, the town, and they're driving through, they get hit by a truck. That's what causes the accident, right?
Not the plane
Not
falling
the
from
plane.
the sky.
But in the show, they give you like a little fake. They're going through the intersection, and you see a truck about to hit them, and then they stop. You know, people who play the game, they're expecting that to be the thing, but then it's to save the crash for the plane, which is a little bit more dramatic, right? much more impactful that it's a plane than just a car crash. So.
I guess it's more unrealistic, but sure.
Well, yeah. There's also, you know, a lot of dialect. We mentioned that, right? When Ellie mentions you mumble in your sleep, that's exactly pulled from the game.
Right.
Ellie, when she gets outside and she's that line she says when she finally gets outside that you talked about when she's standing up.
Like nobody had a conversation with her. Hey, when we get outside, there's searchlights. Make sure you keep crouched down. Yeah,
that is exactly from the game. Even the scene where she explains how she was bitten 3 weeks earlier.
Yep.
That dialogue is exactly from the video game as well. So there's a lot of parallels there. There's a couple of things that are a little different. You know, like the video game is based in 2013. They start in 2003. Right. They start, and you know, obviously, fast forwarding 20 years is 2023 versus 2033. So they try to keep certain things, you know, exact for the gamers, so people can like relive. I mean, I haven't played the game in years because the game originally came out in 2013.
Right.
So almost 10 years I haven't played the game. So it was nice to see some of those things. And actually, I just remembered one of the big things that they also carried over was that very first the intro song where you see the fungus, you know, spreading out, growing. That's actually the beginning of the game too. But in the video game, it's in black and white.
Right.
And I know we talked about that on Sunday, but I totally forgot that that's how the game started as well. So they did a great job in that sense.
Right. Also, really fast for everybody that listened to the first episode, we had an error on the first bounce that we did for. Some people might have actually gotten the first one we did. Their music comes back in. I believe it's like around 4:30.
Yeah, around
3:30, and then
mark.
like ends at 6. That was my fault. I apologize. I was trying to bounce the thing out really quick, get it to everybody, and I made a mistake. Max brought it to my attention the next day because some other people brought it up to him. So if anybody, you know, was one of the lucky few that actually listened to the one that has the error in it, you know, that could be a collector's item down the road.
Well, we the issue was resolved, obviously, and if you want to, you can remove the download, reload it up on your device, and it'll be the updated, corrected version.
Yep.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, I know we did, you know, talk a bit about Nico Parker's performance.
Sarah Miller,
as Sarah Miller. She did such a great job in that. I know today we might not be talking too much about her because we did dedicate a good amount of time on Sunday, and she's there in the first 35 minutes of the show, and obviously her character is very important for who Joel has become.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say Nico Parker did such a phenomenal job, and when you go and look up who this phenomenal rising star actress is, she's actually the daughter of Thandie Newton, who is excellent in Westworld. And the first time I remember seeing her was in Mission Impossible 2.
Yep. She's also in the Star Wars movie Solo.
Solo, yeah.
And
she's just a phenomenal actress. So I mean, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? Isn't that what they say?
Well, yeah, but then also her dad is Ol Parker.
Mm-hmm.
O.L. Parker. How do you say it? Yeah.
Ol.
All right. Well, he's known for writing Ticket to Paradise, starring George Clooney and Julia Roberts. He also did Mamma Mia, the second one. Here we go again.
Yeah.
So he's in the entertainment industry for sure. And then it looks like Nico did a movie with her mom. It's called Reminiscence.
Okay.
Which that one had Wolverine in it, Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
I never saw it. Some people said it was good.
Oh, that's the one that came out during the pandemic on HBO Max, right?
Yeah.
I
So
remember
she's in that too. So
okay.
she's
I haven't
got,
seen it yet.
She has 4 credits to her name. She's only been in 4 things, but obviously, I mean, it seems
Listen, I was talking.
Parents might be helping her get some stuff. She was in Dumbo, Reminiscence, obviously The Last of Us, and another show called Third Day. So she's got some credits, but we're not going to be talking about her that much anymore because, her character's gone, but we want to let people know, hey, she's been in other past stuff and she's got some stuff coming up. So, look out for her.
All I know is I always talk about it. If you can buy a stock in young actors, this is one this is what they call a blue chipper. I think she's going to have great performances and great roles moving ahead just off of lineage. And she did a great job as Sarah in this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, let's get more into this episode. I wanted to bring up Fedra. Okay? Because after what happens in Austin, we're fast forwarded, the 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing we see. We see that little kid coming through the forest or woods, and it's that first interaction with Fedra that we see. I mean, we saw the soldier who shot at Ellie, at Sarah and Joel, but at that time, that's just the regular U.S. government, right?
Right.
Now we're in a government state, right? Fedra is the new controlling power, and they have a tough job to do, right?
Right.
Keeping people safe, order, policing, all that kind of stuff. And, I saw somebody online mention that, in most of apocalyptic zombie movies, when you see soldiers or the police, they're kind of like, oh, we're saved. They're going to help us out. But right off the bat in this, the first soldier that we encountered shoots at Joel and Sarah. And now this is now we're dealing with Fedra, we're going to play a scene here, who has to check people, quarantine, protect. So
right.
It's a little different dynamic than, it's the military, we're saved.
Right. And this is the scene where you see the boy, he's walking obviously through the post-apocalyptic Boston to get to, the, quarantine lockdown or whatever.
Yeah. Quarantine
the
zone.
Safe zone.
Yeah.
Quarantine zone. And so they're checking him out, to see if he's healthy enough to get inside. And so let's take a listen and then we'll talk about the scene. Here we go.
We don't want you falling out of the chair. What's your name? Are you alone? And, how did you get this? It's gonna be a little tickle right here. What if I told you that after we gave you some medicine, we're gonna find you your favorite food to eat? Would you like that? And then we'll get you some new clothes and toys, as many as you want to play with. It's just a little needle. It's okay. You're safe.
So that scene right there, this is one of the harsh things that Fedra's got to do, right?
Yeah.
They have to be the police force of keeping the infection out, which is, obvious. And it's this, this doctor, security guard, nurse lady, whatever, who's in charge of, making sure the infection doesn't come in. She's got to sit there with this kid and comfort him the entire time. Even when she sees that, when they put the thermometer in the ear and she sees that it's red, that he's infected, with a straight face, she doesn't, show any other emotion except, joy and happiness for this kid, even though she knows that they're about to euthanize him in the next, 30 seconds.
Yeah, right away. The actress, Khadija Roberts Abdullah, is that soldier that's, talking in this scene. Great scene. It shows you that amazing. It's going to be a very weird dynamic Fedra has in this show, right?
Right.
Because, typically in zombie movies, apocalyptic movies, whenever you approach the military, it's like you're saved, right? They're here.
Right.
You're saved. They're going to help you. They're going to protect you and kind of thing. But Fedra has a deeper role than just protect, because they have to not only protect, they have to police, they have to discipline, they have to basically run.
They're governing. Yeah.
They're governing this whole society. And already, when we first encountered military in the show was, 20 years earlier. You saw the soldiers shoot at Joel and Sarah.
Right.
And that was the first inkling that this is going to be a harsh military kind of reaction to this, because they don't know what to do, right?
Right.
Like the doctor says, it's game over. We don't know what to do if this happens. So now Fedra is in that weird predicament where we're protecting people, but we're also, when you break the rules, we have to hang you. Or when you're infected, it's no joke, we just have to kill you. Like
right.
there's no cure. There's no letting you hang out. You see the guy come with the needle right away.
Right.
So she does a great job of, comforting her. You see her holding her hand, holding the kid's hand. When they're obviously
telling him it's going to be all right.
Yeah, telling him it's all right. And I'm sure if it was the other way, if it was green, the conversation would be completely different. It would be more about rules and regulations. Don't do this. Don't go there. This is where you get your food. But since it's a kid and it's red, it's a softer approach by that soldier, which is great. But
it's interesting that she actually had that approach, if you think about it, because obviously they've been, she's not a young person. She was probably there from the very beginning when their pandemic actually hit. So that she still has that kind of emotional side of her, that she knows that she can comfort a kid, which you would think after seeing all this stuff happen, you see in the world, your world crumble around you. You look outside the walls. I mean, it's nothing but, broken buildings and, overgrown stuff. And there's not really a lot of things happening. That she still has that emotional side of her to comfort this kid, to put him out of his misery in a good place. She could have took that a totally different route and was kind of like, all right, well, boom. Yeah. And not even said a word to him. She could have just been like, oh, okay. And then she could have walked away. The other guy could have came in, because the kids already have him chained up in a way. He's locked to that. Move. It's like he's going to run away.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
It is a very tough job, because if you think about it even deeper, like in a world like this, it's all about routine. There's no, relaxing at any moment. There's no kicking your feet up to watch the Laker game or a football game. It's literally...
Wait, hold on. You think watching the Lakers is relaxing?
No, you know what I mean? It's like there's you're always vigilant. So it's a world about routine. So she's doing this, almost every day, constantly. I'm sure the numbers of people coming in dwindles, as you go through. But it's still, it's a tough job, and it's not one I would want. Right.
Well, let's go through the things that we've seen Fedra do so far. I mean, and then we could talk about like how far is too far. So obviously you see, if anybody comes in that's affected, you put them down immediately, like they were just a stray that just came in.
Yeah. They're handing out jobs.
They're handing out jobs. They're giving obviously they have their own form of currency, which is looks like some paper they got at Kinko's. There's no Kinko's anymore.
And stamps. Papers and stamps.
But you're also seeing them hang people.
Burn bodies.
They're burning bodies, and then they're hanging people for, going outside the wall.
Yeah.
People, illegal entry, illegal, whatever.
Breaking curfew. And you see these things and you're kind of like, well, how far is too far? And then also, well, what's the resistance? What are the Fireflies thinking? Like, what would you think they would do differently as when you're seeing this? Because me personally, if the world is that bad and I'm living in a place like that and I see, my neighbor, we're just going to call him Stan, and Stan's hopping the wall, or going underneath the wall like Joel and Tess are, and then coming back in and no one's, checking them to make sure they brought the virus in. Well, Stan, I'm sorry, I'm not hanging out with you. And this is kind of weird, because you can kind of see the parallels between what we just went through as far as like mask wearing and not wearing. I know some people are probably listening to this, so you're going, oh, man, what the heck? Or some people are like, oh, right on. It's what freedoms are too far, or what freedoms do you need in a situation like this? Yeah. For Firefly, one of their main goal is to bring some semblance of democracy back, right? Because the military rule is not ideal in their eyes, right? To your point, when a pandemic or something crazy is happening, there are certain freedoms and liberties that are taken away by a governing force. We saw that with 9/11 and COVID, like you mentioned, where certain martial law, certain things get taken away. Certain
Right.
people, like, you want to go to a restaurant, they want you to wear a mask, right, for a period of time. So it's a freedom you kind of got to give up, right?
Sure.
And this is to the extreme where not only are they taking away certain freedoms, but when you do break those freedoms, it's not a post on social media like, look at this person not wearing a mask.
Right.
It's you're getting hung.
Yeah.
You're getting executed for breaking the law. So their approach is, you can see it as necessary, right?
Well, yeah, you could totally.
But it's also harsh.
Yeah.
So it's a very weird dynamic.
But how harsh
them.
is too harsh?
Harsh is too harsh.
Maybe you need to do that to set the example
Exactly.
for your other neighbor to make sure he's not bringing in this disease. Because
yeah.
I mean, obviously, that disease is world-ending.
Oh, of course. It's going to be very interesting to see Fedra throughout the episode,
Right.
the show, right? And their dynamic with the Fireflies, and how Joel and Ellie and Tess and Tommy and interact between those two governing powers, right?
Right.
Kind of thing. So Fedra is going to be something to keep an eye on.
Right.
I know we talked about offline why Joel and Tessa are staying there, right?
Considering
the rules and harshness, right?
The rules and harshness. They're also two very capable people that can obviously clearly handle themselves out in the real world. Are they just there to make a buck? And then also you got to go back and talk about. I mean, they're obviously coming in and out, doing their thing.
Yeah.
What kind of precautions are they taking? Because they're clearly, they're not like checking themselves. So they're how do they know that they're not getting exposed while they're out there and then coming back in?
Well, hopefully they'll know if they get in contact that they like, we need to check. I wonder if they have their own little scanner thingy, right?
Right. But then even when we saw them that one time when they have the body, the decomposed body against the wall, I mean, they're going right up to that thing and not even worried for a second that they're going to get in the spores or
they
stuff
have to
like
get
that.
contacted because they're not doing spores in the show. Right, they're not doing spores in the show. The show creators and the writers and the director and everybody involved in the show, they had an agreement, no spores, because it wouldn't be in their eyes too realistic for people to be walking around where spores are possible, because you would have to be wearing masks all the time. So it's those little tentacle things that are passing on to continue the growth of the fungus. That's how you're going to get infected in the show. So that's why they can approach that and not worry about spores, because spores are not a thing in this universe.
That's
contrary to the game where, you got to wear masks in certain areas.
That's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I know, but I understand the approach.
Well, okay. So one of the things that you and I have talked about, the issue between the people that listen to this podcast that have played the video game and the people that listen that have not. So there's certain things we didn't want to talk about that were going to ruin the experience. Yeah. So now here's something that I guess we can talk about, because you're right, 100% right, that they're not doing the masks.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so there was a dynamic in the game where there were certain areas that Joel couldn't go that Ellie could because she was immune. Yeah. Like, at some point Joel's mask gets broken, so he can't go into certain areas where the spores are going around.
Yeah.
So she would go in and kind of do whatever needed to be done. So you would sometimes switch over to her character and stuff. So that's kind of an element that I was kind of looking forward to kind of see how they would actually, do that. And so we basically just said that's not going to happen now.
Well, they might have it a different way where, she's still going to be immune, so there's still probably a way they can do that, a workaround,
maybe,
where it's not spores. I'm sure.
I feel like they could have done the mask thing. You could have done something. Look, it's a podcast. I mean, we could speculate and we come up with our own theories and our own ways to do stuff. They could have done something as simple as the spores are still there, and they can only. I mean, because they talked about in the beginning, or at least the doctor did, how like the fungus could actually take over the human body. Yeah. Because the climate change, and so they'll learn to adapt, blah blah. Heat, so another way they could have done it is, so they obviously need the host in order to survive the climate change or something, and they can only survive outside of a host for a certain amount of time or something like that, like a certain distance or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a show. That's pretty. I'm disappointed.
So
that's a bummer.
You kind of, I want to ask you this. You kind of already maybe gave your answer to this. apocalypse is going down. Are you Fedra or Firefly?
That's tough. I mean,
only based. Now I'm gonna
now
let me correct my.
Hold on. The apocalypse is going. Okay, go.
Okay, post-apocalyptic. You're in this world right here.
Mm-hmm.
Do not factor in what you know about the game.
Okay.
Factor in what you've seen in the first episode between the Fireflies and Fedra. Now the Fireflies are not any. I mean, they just got wiped out by a local smuggler.
Right.
Don't look too organized there. But are you Fedra or Firefly?
Well, look, they want a democracy. They want to be able to vote for things. I want to know what their vote for change is. If you think about it, are you just saying now you're not going to be as harsh as on the people that are going to hop the wall and bring the virus back in? I don't know. I'm probably not going to. So then what's your other... are you talking about because you want to be the ones that hand out the crap jobs?
Yeah.
Is that your reasoning? What's your point? They need to send me an email that gives me a list of the changes that they want to make.
Yeah.
Who their representative is.
Yeah.
I want to talk to their representative and see what their talking points are, and then go from there. I don't know. I can't see what they would do differently than Fedra's doing. That to keep people as safe as they need to be in that kind of world.
Oh, so but you
Does
would
that answer
still...
that? So I would think I don't know. As of right now, without knowing the politics of the Fireflies, I think I'm Fedra.
You're Fedra. Well, they just mentioned, Marlene mentioned democracy, so she wants to bring back some semblance of democracy.
And I get that, but I just need to know what are your changes? Okay, if you want the democracy, what's going to be different with the democracy? We're just going to vote for the guy who's going to say the exact same stuff that's happening?
Probably
I don't know if I'm going to pick up a gun for that.
Probably we could start off by less hangings, maybe put them in jail for a little bit, something in that sense. That might be a little less harsh.
But look, God, I don't want to. But then you're like, okay, but this is a pretty harsh reality.
Yes.
Okay, so if someone's hopping the wall, bringing that, this isn't.
Everybody's dead, right?
This isn't COVID, okay? This is
far worse.
World ending.
Yes.
So if someone's bringing in world ending disease, the message, in my opinion, I don't know. I mean, some people you're putting me in a spot where that message has to be sent. Now, if I'm gonna be okay, so Joey hopped the fence. Oh, Joey, here's a slap on the wrist. 15 days in jail, and you have to eat this less sludge than what we're all eating. Then Joey's gonna be like, well, I had a great time out there.
Great time.
15 days. Who knows? I don't know what Joey's doing on the other side of the wall. Why is he going the other side?
There's raiders and slavers on the other side.
But obviously,
they mentioned, right?
But why are you hopping the wall to go out there? You obviously have an agenda. It's not to go hang out with those people. You might have. Maybe there's a club we don't know about.
Oh, that'd be cool. Not really.
Okay, now we're going.
Okay, so you're definitely...
What side? Okay.
So now here's the other thing. So you're definitely inside the quarantine zone. You're not going to be a slaver or a raider, right? You're not going to be on the complete opposite side of the spectrum where it's we're doing dirt and we do whatever we want on the outside in the wilderness. You giving me that look? Yeah.
Okay.
Are you definitely staying inside the quarantine zone, or are you gonna play outside in with the rest of the crazies?
I don't know. I mean, what are my capabilities? Am I am I as capable as Joel and Tess?
No, Robbie. You are.
I'm Robbie. Oh,
you
man. I'm pretty badass. So I don't know.
Are you on your own?
It depends on who I have. If I'm on my own, that's a tough call. If I'm not on my own and I have my kids and my wife, then I'm staying indoor. I'm staying in the quarantine zone.
Yeah,
I'm on my own. It could go either way. But you're the same.
Now this brings up the whole apocalyptic talk, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in that episode that I wanted to approach. From you, what do you think when Ellie runs out of when Sarah runs out of the house, the neighbor's house, and they put down Granny, right?
Right.
I know we mentioned that you got to move, but that first night, maybe it's better to stay home, let everybody else go crazy, and go maybe the second day when it's a little less chaotic. What do you think? After watching it again, and I'm like, look at all the craziness that they're going through, right? Wouldn't it have been better to just let's hunker down at home, wait, and let everybody else try to clog up the highways, deal with planes falling down, and the next day we tackle the exodus. What do you think? I'm thinking for me, I think I might wait a day or two before I get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, maybe.
I know you already have a plan for your apocalyptic escape.
I have a plan for my apocalyptic escape. I mean, I think any right person would have. Anybody who watches like Walking Dead or like, Shaun of the Dead or like any kind of like,
Shaun of the Dead, awesome movie.
Yeah, anybody who's I think has watched a post-apocalyptic thing, they've had that conversation in their head at least a couple of times, like where they would go, who they would hang, like who would they be with, that kind of stuff. Me, I'd probably, judging by the stuff, we probably waited out a day or so. But then look at like Joel and his brother. They're obviously capable people. Yeah, they've been in the military. They've seen some stuff. They could take care of themselves. So they already have this thing like I feel like shit's going down. Grab the kid. Let's get out of there. Because once again, strategy. We obviously we don't know what they saw from picking up his brother.
I hope they have that in there. I don't care if it's a soft opening. We're going to talk about things that we want to see moving forward. Yeah. I hope they show you a little glimpse of that. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, like we don't know what their experience was going from the jail to go back to get Sarah.
Yeah.
So the things that they saw probably like might have maybe they had a plan to hang out at the house and then come up with a plan.
Yeah.
But then as they were coming home and they saw people eating, it looked like people eating people on the streets, houses are on fire. There's a bunch of fighter jets flying by. Things are blowing up in the background. They're like, no, we just got to get her and go. And then when they pull up, obviously she's already outside. She's being chased by the neighbor who's supposed to have dementia, shouldn't even be moving.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, get in the truck. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that scene, go. But if all that stuff doesn't happen and he never goes and picks up his brother and they wake up to all that stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
Different conversation, maybe. Maybe they do wait it out until you see a bunch of people acting all crazy out in the street, and you're kind of like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah, I mean, you do wait it out, but there is the fear of someone coming in, because one of the things that were different than from the video game to the first episode was, in the video game, the neighbor actually, it's not an old lady, I think it's a guy. He breaks through like the glass door, window or whatever into the house.
Yeah.
So that there's a fear of someone trying to come in, right, into your home.
Yeah.
If you do decide to stay, or the military coming around and just executing everybody. You don't know about that.
Well, also, I mean, they are, okay, so she fell asleep and woke up.
Yeah.
And then the only information that she had was when she turned the television on and she saw the emergency broadcast.
Yeah.
That's not giving you any information. You don't know that there's an actual virus out there yet. You don't know that people are acting all crazy. For all you know, you're being invaded by a foreign country.
That's true.
You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So the only way she finds that out is when she goes into the house and sees what's happening with the neighbors. So brings me all the way back to Joel and his brother, what they saw getting to that point, because Joel still might not even know when he wakes up in the morning, because I don't know.
Definitely, let's talk about these dynamics. You mentioned Joel and Tommy. One of the things I want to, we should definitely talk about is their relationship, right? Obviously, in this episode, 20 years later, once he can't get in contact with Tommy,
right,
you see him kind of like singular focus. He's willing to do anything and everything to get this battery. And it's going to lead us into the next scene that we're going to play.
Right.
Because we want to talk about Joel's dynamic with Tess and Joel's with Tommy as well. So in this scene, because now his whole focus is getting this battery so they can get a truck so they can go out and go save Tommy, quote unquote. Because, there's raiders and slavers and zombies, all kinds of crazy stuff out there, right? And Tommy hasn't responded back with what's going on.
Right.
So Joel's one mind is, let's go get the battery. Now Tess is going to break the news to him that there is no battery right now. So let's play the scene.
These aren't new.
No. I was in federal lockup all day. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I need you to take a breath.
What?
Joe.
What?
The guys who jumped me were with Robert. He sold our battery to someone else. Nothing's lost. This shit like this is gonna happen. Now we just shake it off and we go get our cards back or the battery.
I need the battery, Tess. Truck's no good without one, and if I don't get to Tommy soon, he's gonna die out there.
Okay, fuck it. We get our money back and the battery. But Joel, listen, Robert is terrified of you. So you march out of here, all Clint Eastwood is gonna get wind of it and skip. I need you to take a breath.
Who'd he sell it to?
Don't know.
Well, where is he?
Don't know. Yet. But we're gonna find out quietly. Understand? No, I promised Robert that you wouldn't hurt him. But I would very much like for you to hurt him. So let's go hunt that motherfucker down. And get our battery and our truck. And then we'll go find Tommy. All right?
Who do you think's in charge in that relationship?
Oh, I think I don't think. It's like she has a pit bull on a leash in Joel.
Right.
And she knows how to calm him,
right.
how to communicate to him, how to rile him up, and how to release him when she needs to. And I can't wait. I hope one of the things that we see is more of that dynamic between the two. And obviously, they have a close relationship. She comes home and she lays in bed with him.
Right.
And you see how angry he got when he saw her face.
Yeah.
And then how real angry he got when he realized there's no battery for save his brother.
Yeah. You did mention to me, like, you pointed out how they did show a bunch of scenes, like extra scenes about Sarah, like to kind of build up her character, like before the actual game started. You got to see her at school, you got to see her kind of traveling, doing her thing. And I would love some flashbacks of just Joel and Tess, but I would also love some flashbacks because obviously she knows Tommy.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be a dynamic with the three of them. And I would love to see some flashbacks about that and like how their relationship was, because the way we left Joel is his daughter just died. He's just with his brother. That's the only family he's got. And then moving forward, obviously something happened for Tess to enter his world and to be able to develop that bond. And remember, this is we've talked about it. This guy's broken. Having your kid die in your arms has got to be brutal. But then to be able to build a relationship with someone else, you feel like he does love Tess, because of like the way he reacts, and and when you play the game, you'll whatever. But it'd be interesting to see how it developed into that, and it's something that the game never touched upon, and I would like to see that. Yeah,
I'm the same. Joel's relationship with Tess and Joel's relationship with Tommy, and the three of them. Just give me one episode with a mission. I just want to see how that kind of works.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah,
like that would be pretty cool. The other thing, we kind of broke into this is things that we want to see in the future. Definitely that. I also want to see how this thing came about. This whole the virus. It's not a virus. What am I saying? How these fungus started? Like they could do another one of these soft opens, like they did with the scientists, where they show me the first spore. Well, they're not doing spores. The first human contact.
Right.
Patient 0.
That would be cool.
I want to see how that, and then you can see how it spreads to the next person, and then that could just be our soft opening before they roll credits. I would love to see that. I hope that's something they think about.
I know we're speculating a little bit, like playing the hopes and dreams stuff, but it would actually be kind of cool if they stuck with the same format.
Yeah,
where the first 5 minutes is this doctor talking about exactly what you just said. Then the next, even though the show's not, the first episode was an hour and a half, so obviously it'd be difficult to do that again with another 30 minutes in a different time, and then. But it'd be nice for maybe another 5 minutes where you show a flashback previously before, maybe how Tess and Tommy, and Joel kind of like get together and stuff like that. For maybe 5 minutes, a little scene of them, and then it goes to Ellie. And I never would have thought I would have said that, because remember when we did our first breakdown of the show, like
the character
bios and stuff, I was talking about how important Joel and Ellie were going to be to make this show so great.
Yeah.
And obviously that dynamic is going to be it's very, very important, but I do want to know these other little things. And it's kind of cool that this first episode made me want to feel like maybe think about those other things that I wanted to see that you don't see in the video game, which would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, because they did add a lot of other things that create more context to the world, and I'm glad that you brought up Joel and Ellie, because the next thing I want to approach is, we start to see a little bit of the dynamic that they're about to have when Joel has that PTSD moment outside.
Yeah.
And you see the anger and the hurt and the rage after he kills that soldier. And while he's doing it, you mentioned it on the last episode, Ellie's walking and like she's kind of intrigued.
Yeah, she's moving like because her point of view is all she sees is the back of Joel, and you see Joel's fist kind of just going up and down. She walks to the right to get a better view of Joel smashing the soldier's face in, and she's got this look that she's kind of like into this.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think it's that she's looking at it from, like, I don't want to say Tessa's using Joel,
right?
From the first episode, she knows what she has in him, and she can use it and deploy him. Do you think that Ellie's looking at Joel in the same manner? That, wow, this guy is, I can work with this, or it could be my protector, or how do you see? I mean, without spoilers, we kind of know, but this is good for viewers to speculate, right?
I mean, actually, it's been a couple of years since I played the game, so I'm gonna still speculate a little. I'm actually questioning it because one thing that was kind of cool, and I'm sorry again for bringing back up the video game, but there's all these little one-liners in there when there's a fight scene going on, or when there's like something actually happening, where there's like a lot of action going on. But the one-liners from Ellie is always kind of like in surprise, in shock. She's like, holy crap, Joel. Like when he goes and does something, she's very like, oh my God, you're doing that? Like what is wrong? Like at least that's the impression I was getting. It makes me want to go back and replay it, make sure that I'm actually right about this. So her giving that face, that like kind of like, I'm kind of into this, was it was very kind
of into this.
I mean, it was very surprising to me. It really was. Like, and I don't know
or maybe it's another thing of that she's a little off too. Like this, like clearly, you said, I'm into it. I like this. How do I get to be? Can I be angry like this too?
I just didn't get that from that character in the game before. And obviously she has issues. She was an orphan. She was left at basically like a military school when she was a baby. So obviously she's a broken person also.
Yeah. They mentioned Marlene mentioned Riley. Obviously we haven't met Riley yet. We don't know what's going on.
It's probably
going
to be a flashback.
Definitely going to be something, because there is a character. That they already mentioned. So maybe there's more to her.
We might have actually talked about
in
Riley.
The bio, yeah. So obviously there's something more to Ellie that we haven't approached yet, but it's going to be very interesting to see that kind of dynamic between Joel and Ellie, based off of what we see here, where she's, a lot of people online were saying how the difference, the correlation between, when Joel kills the neighbor with the giant wrench, smacks her, how Sarah is like distraught, because obviously she knew the neighbor, and she's like, I can't believe you just killed her, right? She's distraught, and she's like crying and all that kind of thing, right? But when Joel is doing this to obviously a stranger, she's not shocked, she's not crying, she just gives that weird look like, ooh, what is going on here? She's like more intrigued than anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely two different people in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, they both got brought up in two different worlds, so they're gonna be completely different.
Yeah. So that's really gonna be cool. I mean, I think we have one other scene we're gonna pull. We're gonna pull that scene. It's finally caught.
When Tess actually sees that the scanner is red, and then sees that she's infected. Let's listen.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sick.
No!
I'm not sick.
No!
I'm not sick. Look. This is 3 weeks old. Nobody lasts more than a day. Just as look at they old to you. You would have killed me. You should fucking kill me. When did it happen? It doesn't matter. You have to trust me. They're gonna catch us if we don't run.
Joel, we gotta move. We gotta move, Joel.
Right off the bat, I picked this up. I don't know, man. So far, does Tess get her hands dirty? Because she's yelling to Joel, like, rather than just like try to handle this, like, we talked about Fedra, Red, you're done, you're dead. She didn't even like pull a gun out on her, like, let me execute her. I think she's calling for Joel to come do the dirty work. No, I don't know. What do we do here? Like, she's infected. Think about it. Like, if this world is crazy, right?
Right.
You're infected. I'm helping you. If I'm in that Fedra camp, like you said you are, you're putting one in their head.
Well, I feel like you've already so we've already answered the question about there's no spores being transferred over.
Yes.
So I guess you can be close to the infected right now. And let's not forget, she's their golden ticket to get Tommy. So if you execute her and then you don't have the vehicles and the supplies and everything to go get Tommy.
Great point.
So, I mean, Tess seems like a very smart person. Whether she was thinking about that or not, or whether you're right and I'm wrong.
No, I think I prefer your take.
You can't execute her because then it's like, all right, well, now we're back in the same situation.
Yeah. And
not only are we in the same situation, we just killed a guard.
Yeah.
And so there's people already going to be after us. So,
I just hope she gets her hands dirty and not always sick the pit bull,
she does.
Dirty Harry on every major, thing.
Well, even I forget who said it, or they've even said, like, they've made comments like, you guys are both very capable people. I know what you guys are capable of doing.
Yeah.
So obviously she's
just as
has
violent.
no issues of pulling a gun on somebody and pulling the trigger. So I don't think you have to worry about.
So now, are you like, I think you answered all our questions here. Is like, you have to see this through because she's the ticket to getting Tommy, right? Getting the battery. So whether she's going to turn in a day or 2 days or never turn,
right?
We have to kind of see this through and go out into the big, bad, ugly.
Right. Well, then now, obviously, the next episode, they're going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to find out why they're taking her to the Fireflies. She's immune. We all know that now. So
they don't know that she's immune, but we know.
They know. Well, they know because if they believe her, look. If you look at the scars,
we'll see
obviously
if they believe her all the way through.
I believe they're going to. Obviously, if she has the scars, they're obviously old.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like,
I don't think Joel. To me, Joel's not even here right now. He's still like kind of remorseful for what he just did, and he's kind of on his coming down. Sure. I don't think he heard any of what was going on.
Maybe not.
And I think that's why they had the sound was a little, distant
Possible.
In there.
Yeah.
Where because they were kind of like in Joel's perspective, like when you're like you hear things but you're really not listening. I think Joel was hearing but wasn't listening because he was still in that space. He was on the come down. So it's gonna be interesting how they expand that coming through the next. And then fast forward now to Joel's radio in his room, his ham radio.
Right. And we said it was Depeche Mode. Yeah.
Depeche Mode. But, when you look at the lyrics of that song, it's the opening line of the song is, "I'm taking a ride with my best friend. I hope he never lets me down again. He knows where he's taking me." That is obviously very deliberate because Ellie is going to be taking a ride with her best friend.
Sure.
And Joel's going to be taking a ride with his best friend. He doesn't even realize it at this point yet, but the two of them are obviously going to create a bond through this show.
Yeah.
And it's a very well-placed song, I have to say.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of the lyrics. I was just thinking of what time or what era that song came out. Like, so what part of the code was that? Obviously 80 and,
Trouble.
Yeah, that's good information.
They know what they're doing, these guys, right? So overall, first episode, now that you saw it a little bit more, does it still kind of hold up in your eyes? Did it do the video game justice? Can't wait for more?
I can't wait for more. It does. What was awesome about this episode, and I know we talked about it before, was how true it actually stayed to the source material. When a lot of times when an adaptation of a comic book or a video game most of it doesn't ever hold up. I'm trying to think of one that it was like amazingly, stuck to the script. This one, not to a fault, but it definitely, it stuck there, which was very good. Now, watching it the second time with my wife, there are some things that was kind of maybe a little bit more of a letdown, not letdown, but things that I noticed that I didn't like as much as I thought I did. I need to see more out of Ellie. What's her name? Obviously she
Bella
wasn't
Ramsey?
Yeah, she wasn't on screen that much.
Yeah.
But from what I did see the second time around, I kind of was like, I don't know. And
she's being a teenager.
She's being a teenager. It's going to be kind of,
she'll be a little annoying.
Yeah. I'm hoping that, she either grows on me or she just has better material to actually show that, what's that character, because I already know what that character's supposed to be in that world from the video game. Yeah. I want her performance to hold up. So far, Joel's holding up, but he's had more screen time. He's had more development. You've seen where he's come from. For her, I still need to see more out of that situation.
Is it not that her character is, you know, an annoying 14-year-old that's bothering you? Because if her annoying 14-year-old is bothering you, then she's doing an excellent job being an annoying 14-year-old.
Sure, okay.
You know, it's the whole Cersei Lannister thing. She was so... You hated the character so much in Game of Thrones because the actress did such a freaking great job of playing the role that you hated her so much.
Sure. Okay.
Is it that, or is it just, you know, it's so far it's not enough for you?
I don't know. Every scene that she was in kind of annoyed me a little bit, but those scenes were kind of designed to annoy me.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, from the first time you saw her, she's, you know, she has to count and she's kind of pissed off and she's, you know, does that, you know, the smirk face at the end of the whole like FU thing after she counts. And then the scene wasn't there yet for me to kind of gravitate towards her. When I've said it before, like the whole key to the show is going to be Joel and Ellie, and moving forward, I find myself wanting to know more about the other characters than I did about her as of right now.
But we'll see
first
how it
episode,
develops.
obviously, I mean, but at the end of the day, yes, this episode still holds up. It's amazing from point A to point B, or point A to Z, however you wanted to say where we're at in the alphabet for it. The action was great. The cinematography was great. The dialogue was great. I mean, overall, I'm hooked. I want to see the next episode.
Yeah, I don't have any major complaints. I'm with you. I think it was a great start. I think there's so much potential to fill in the gaps that, you know, the video game didn't fill in, and that's why one of the most things I'm most excited for seeing in this show.
Sure.
But before we end this, the thing that I have to complain about is I've been spoiled, man. Netflix and all these streaming services giving me the full season all at once so I can just binge it in a day or two has spoiled me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive one whole week waiting. I just want to see all of it like right now. I'm so freaking spoiled, and I can't wait I don't know if they're ever going to have a day where where HBO is just going to give it to me, HBO. Give me all the episodes now.
But then how is our weekly podcast going to work for a show like that?
Well, we'll figure it out. I'm being selfish right now, but I can't wait for episode 2. I know this show is going to be epic, and it's off to a great start.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you everybody for, tuning in and listening to this, podcast. Our next episode is going to be this coming up Sunday. We're going to drop it. We're going to watch the episode. We're going to talk about the episode. Then we're going to drop the episode. Pretty much what we did last time. We're going to try to get the episode to you a little bit sooner than previously, but I'm having fun doing this. I hope you guys are too.
Join us, comment. We're interacting with a lot of people online on Twitter and on Patreon. So we'd love to get people's, people are freeze framing the most amazing things. I saw one person sent us there was a soccer ball when they were having breakfast, and then a picture of Ellie's soccer team or something, and then it correlates to the video game.
Oh, really?
Where there's pictures of Ellie and Sarah, where Sarah is and Joel, Sarah's soccer team,
right.
And you see pictures in the video game of Sarah and Joel with the soccer, so they kind of tied in a lot of these little Easter eggs, and we're getting that from the community, and it's I think people will really enjoy it. It's pretty awesome.
You gotta show that to me. Yeah, one thing that's gonna make this podcast better is more community involvement and stuff. So whenever we make a mistake, message us, let us know, correct us. Send us stuff that you guys find that we don't find, and then we'll mention it onto our recap episodes and stuff. Because
go to Twitter.
More interaction, the better.
Yeah, we're on Twitter. On Twitter is rot_brain, your brain, and then our Patreon links. All the links will be in the bottom of this episode. So cool. We love to interact with everybody.
Right on.
All right, my man.
All right, cool. Thanks again to our Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169, and thank you everybody else. We'll catch you next time. Intro music composed by Kyle Torme. Outro music and bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain, and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.